the only place I could find the mention of this is on the wiki that your original like basic and expert books were falling apart
Yeah,
back in 2006. So that's what inspired you to start building basic fantasy.
that was part of it.
And then what switched from the I just need to replace my books as opposed to I'm going to build a new system?
Uh, okay, that's a little hard to explain.
Okay.
That was right after Troll Lords had brought out Castles and Crusades,
Yeah.
which, in my understanding, is probably one of the very first games to try to recapture the old school feel while using the OGL,
Hmm.
using the OGL as a legal basis for them to publish. And I was writing a game at the same time, kind of a stripped down rule system that I was using for my home game, but I was also sharing it with my friends online because I was in the Dragon's Foot community at the time, and called Project 74. Project 74 is a failure.
Yeah.
I will not cushion that. It was a bad idea, but doing it taught me what was wrong with the ideas. It showed me why doing something like Project 74 was the wrong way to go to get back to the old school feel. And and I never read Castles and Crusades early versions. I could have signed up for their playtests, but I didn't, because I didn't want any possibility that what I was working on would seem to be
Coincide.
it would seem to be like I was stealing from them or anything like that. I didn't want that. When I finally did read Castles and Crusades, I got the original promo box set, the
Yeah.
little white box set, and read through it, and I realized that they had done some things like just like I had, some things the opposite way I had, but we were all looking at the same basis. It wasn't the game I wanted to play either, but I learned a lot from it. But the first thing I thought about that, looking at this game, and I had been putting together house rules for a BX game and trying to decide what to do about the fact that my books were falling apart. And I'd actually started assembling a house rules document that I was going to use. And I had, because of my Dragon's Foot experience, I knew how to do layout that would look like the old books.
Yeah.
I understood what to do to get the old book look, and I was working on that. And I looked at CNC, and I thought a lot of what I didn't like about it was that they had moved away from the classic, this thing needs this dice, but this thing needs these other dice type of a system where you don't have a unified mechanic. And they moved away from that towards a unified mechanic. And I realized that, to my mind, that was actually critical. Staying with the mixed up, confusing sometimes system of having different roles for everything is a part of the old school experience. It's something I thought was essential to making it feel right.
Okay.
And I have other reasons that are a lot more about the theory of game design.
Yeah.
That I don't think we probably need to get into. That would be a long discussion that no one would want to listen to. But I do have some theories about that, and I realized that that was what I wanted. And then I thought, I bet you could get closer than this. I bet you could do, because mechanics can't be copyrighted in the United States.
Yeah.
And I said, I bet you could continue using the OGL, but just go back to the old mechanics. Maybe avoid some terminology that might get you in trouble with them. But go back to the old mechanics and write a game that way and actually distribute it. Now, I did not have any plans to sell anything, because at that time I had never heard of print on demand. I think it was the process of being invented in 2006. So there was no print on demand for me to think about that I knew of anyway. But I was gonna distribute a game that my friends could actually take down to Kinko's and have printed and bound, or down to Staples or whoever does it, have them printed and bound and have their own books. And that was what I wanted. I wanted this community that I was already building, community of Dragon's Foot people that I was already working with. I didn't build it. I was there doing layout, but I had people that I knew I could count on.
Yeah.
And so I just did it. I took the house rules document I was working on, which I had release numbered the way I release number everything because I was sharing it with a few friends privately. Stripped out all of the stuff that would have been infringing.
Yeah.
Put in all the headers for everything I knew I needed, so it was a skeleton of a document basically, and shared it as release 6 of the game on Dragon's Foot, and that was the end of January 2006. And I put out a call to action. I said, anybody who wants to help with this, jump in. And I had people jump in. I have a lot of contributors to the game. That just from that point along, probably a third or better of the current list of contributors were from the very first releases.